Hello, I'm Phylum, and welcome back to my series where I talk about classic QuakeCon Grand Finals from 2000 to 2016. Here today with 2002 LeXa versus Dayla, and oh boy am I regretting not coming up with a snappier title for this series already. Let's quickly introduce these players and give a little bit of context. LeXa is a top Russian player of this era. He didn't have a lot of big wins, but he had a lot of strong performances and was a really scary player, could really take down anyone as far as I know. LeXa and AIM notably are the two foreign players who came over to America for QuakeCon 2002 and kind of, made it through to the bracket. LeXa from Russia and AIM from Sweden, so, we're starting to see a more global approach to QuakeCon, and that's only going to get more and more global as we go along. And I don't want to spoil anything, but more than half of these grand finals are going to be an American versus a European or a Russian. We also, in this grand final, have Dayla, a top North American player, again, from back in the days, not around anymore, or not that I know of. Again, not someone I know much about because they aren't around much anymore, but in the lead up to this event, he's beaten Fatality in the lower bracket final after losing to LeXa already in the upper bracket final, so now he's here to face LeXa again. And this is the only map of the grand final, so I'm assuming it was a best of 3 with one map advantage to LeXa. Last time in 2001, we saw one of 2 maps of the grand final. I didn't really talk about this, so just to quickly clear it up, we saw 24, Fatality and 04 also played Blood Run, which 04 won again, so best of 3. This year, it looks like a similar kind of thing, but double elimination advantage to LeXa. There's $40,000 on the line, $20,000 for first, $10,000 for second, so a really big jump. And to quickly address some stuff from last video, and some really wonderful people have reached out to me with some historical context here, QuakeCon 2001 was the first QuakeCon to actually have a prize pool. Before that, it was just people having fun. So, a massive opportunity to win some money for 04 there. I think it was a $45,000 prize pool altogether. And yeah, just huge thanks to the people who have sent me some information. So, for example, someone sent me a link to a page that had all of the seeding information, or kind of the group stage information. Except back in these days, there wasn't a proper group stage. They just played free-for-alls, and that kind of determined their seeding and, if they made it through to the bracket. And so, interestingly here, LeXa, he placed 5th in his free-for-all group, so not very high. And I think it was actually the lowest spot, or there was only one spot below him that, made it through to the bracket. And he goes on to make it to the grand final. So, not so strong at free-for-all, but really good at duel. And it seems like, by 2020 standards, a completely bizarre way to seed or, determine entry to the final bracket of a tournament. So, let's get started with this game. Alright, here we go with LeXa versus Dayla here on Campgrounds, Pro Q3, DM6. And we're on LeXa's point of view as he spawns down to that lightning gun collecting the mega, and he's going to race over to this red armor. That's a pretty nice spawn. The lightning gun in Quake 3, I've said this before, I will certainly say it again, it does a shitload of damage, so this is a beautiful start for LeXa. The only thing missing from his arsenal that he needs is, well, the rocket and the rail. But he can deny this rail, and this is really smart. And this is the kind of play that, again, obviously we saw 24 last year, and that's a map that has a really obvious railgun to kind of play around and deny. I feel like this map has a slightly less obvious railgun to play around and deny, but the bait there is beautiful. We haven't seen anything like that so far. And LeXa knows exactly what to do to cycle around from that red back to mega. He's going to do the bridge to rail. Is he going to do it? Oh, he does it. We saw it failed, but, thanks to a bit of LG push from LeXa there. I feel like we've just seen a beautiful showcase of, a couple of the fundamental things of Quake Duel. Asserting massive dominance at the start here. He's going to let Dayla get position on this armor, but he has the potential to do so much damage, right? If he hits another rail here, Dayla's in big trouble. And you know what? LeXa's cool. He's like, you got red, I hit a rail. That nullifies the red entirely. He can back off onto yellow, and then he still has time to make it to mega. This is perfect. So he gets 150 points of health and armor. He takes no damage. Dayla takes 100 points of armor and takes 100 points of damage. It's calm, it's restrained. Dayla is very ambitious with how he jumps in there, and again, the fake rocket jump, right? We see LeXa here playing the player so carefully, trying to bait Dayla out, and this looks pretty scary. Right now, this looks terrifying, and I'm hoping this isn't quite as one-sided as the last 2 years have been, as LeXa knows exactly how to get these spawn frags, he knows exactly where to look. So again, he has plenty of time to make it into mega. I like Dayla's position, and I like that he doesn't get greedy and stick around for these spam rockets, because he's probably just going to hit a rail, okay? He needs to maintain his stack. he probably is going to struggle to get anything, and again, LexeR, he's denying this lightning gun, right? Or he's telling Dayla that if he wants to get it, he's going to pay for it, and in this case, pays with his life. So 2 minutes in, 4 frag advantage. You know, it's not an unwinnable situation here, but Dayla really needs to be concerned about this control, right? LexeR, gonna have all the time in the world. Again, plenty of time to get down to the Mega. He's gonna look to see if he can deny the yellow armor or damage the yellow armor. Actually catches Dayla crossing in an awkward spot. Dayla trying to be tricky. Dayla, he's taken that rail. He cannot be at this red. So LexeR, he's playing it calm. He knows, again, he's positioned so that if Dayla wants to come, he kind of can respond. He can come up with an answer. Interesting little delay here. LexeR gonna make sure, and I'm gonna have to pay attention to when that Mega actually comes up, right? Because that might have actually been an item delay. Because one thing you see players do in high-level Quake games these days, they carefully think about when they collect these items so that they don't sync up, right? So that the red and Mega don't sync up. Armor's coming up every 25 seconds, Mega coming up every 35 seconds. And yeah, it looks like the delay LexeR put on actually does give him a really nice cycle where he can pick up that Mega and then come, and red is right there, right? So the next Mega is going to be 45. And again, if LexeR picked up that red right now, okay, well, he pretty much syncs him up again, but he could have waited a second or two. But I think he was getting into the realm where the advantages outweighed the disadvantages, or the disadvantages outweighed the advantages, I should say. Dayla's done a good job now of slowing things down, being tricky. He's got himself a railgun, which is such a critical gun to play out of control on this map. Good position there for LexeR, but it doesn't quite work out for him. Not connecting with the shot. Good opportunity for Dayla to get the rail. I like that he was looking for LexeR to be exiting through that doorway, because that's a really easy railgun to hit. In this position for Dayla, you know, I don't hate it, but I don't love it, okay? I like LexeR's movement, using the stairs for cover, and even though he takes a lot of damage, he's gonna get the frag. And right now, you know, even if Dayla gets a good spawn, gets a gun off the spawn, right, or gets this armor off the spawn, the fact that LexeR has a big weapon advantage is gonna really come into play here. Now LexeR's got a pretty tough decision right now. Mega's coming in a second, red's gonna be at a similar time. Dayla commits to the red, so this actually makes LexeR's life pretty easy. Dayla theoretically could have pushed forward for Mega there, but I don't think he knew when it was. And LexeR sneaks back in for the exit rail on red, so Dayla, even though he's had this opportunity, he's finally got himself on a major item. LexeR's there putting pressure on it, he's there with exit damage, and he's collecting not only the Mega, but the yellow as well, completely for free. That frag was just coming from a mile away. Right now, this looks so much like a proper Quake duel, right? We've seen good play already, we've seen strong aim, we're seeing definitely weaker aim in my opinion from LexeR than we saw from 0-4 last year, especially in terms of like the railgun. It just doesn't look quite as clean in my opinion. It's pretty clean, but like he's missed a few shots that I feel like, you know, 0-4 of circa 2001 would not. But just this mind game, right? There's a duel mentality here, there's a trickiness, there's a trappiness. I think it's really beautiful to see. So while this game is quite one-sided, I might quickly mention, where is 0-4 this year? If you look at his esports earnings page for 2002, he's not in many events. I think it's pretty much only QuakeCon 2002 as Dayla takes a very unfavorable fight. Nothing was ever going to go his way in that fight. That was just kind of like, I'm desperate, I don't know what to do. And LexeR, he is so confident he knows where Dayla is and how Dayla's playing this that he actually leaves Mega sitting there. That's beautiful. But we'll go back to 0-4 for a second. As LexeR continues to just dominate this control game. 0-4 came... I don't even think he finished top 8 at this event, okay? And interestingly, he lost to Fatality in what turned out to be a very, very different game to what we saw in the 2001 Grand Final. Fatality came third at this event. He played really well, and 0-4 kind of got owned in his game. Was 0-4, you know, prioritizing other things in his life at this point? I don't really know. Did he just get left behind by the competition? You know, that is a possibility. Because I know a lot of these esports earnings pages don't list placements that are below, like, top 4 or top 8 for these early Quake events especially. You know, there just aren't great records kept. So, that's where 0-4 was at this point, right? The two-time QuakeCon winner, surprisingly absent from this grand final. As Dayla... moving around the map here, I'm going to bring up the item timers for a second. I do have the power to do this, okay? But I would prefer to talk about the game with them off. I'm experimenting here. As Dayla finally gets himself on the board, right? He put some pressure down, he got himself a red armor. Now LeXa seems to know that these items are synced up, so he's positioned in the perfect spot, right? Where this plasma gun spawns, it is the perfect spot, and Dayla has gotten over-aggressive. It means he has to dive back in. It's worked well for him in the end, but that could have easily gone south. I think that was playing a little bit close to the wire, but importantly, he's got himself out of the minus. Okay, you know, all he needs is one more frag and he's going to be on the board. And again, these duels are 15 minutes long, okay? My god, some of these games can drag, but and I mean look, LeXeR is just too well prepared. He knows the read on the stack, he knows the read on the time, he knows that he has all the time in the world there to fly in and finish up that frag before red. You know, you can tell from how he approaches it that he knows. There is nothing left to chance. He's scared of the shotgun and he respects it a lot. Again, vanilla Quake 3 shotgun is pretty freaking ridiculous. Dayla wants to chase up the bounce pad, and that's the kind of situation where if it happened in 2020, you would be very disappointed in LeXeR. These days, yeah, you know, you're kind of like, okay, his LG up the bounce pad wasn't as confident as it could have been. I like that he uses the plasma gun to put the pressure on Dayla there, and something that's really standing out to me in this game is that the players are positioning so far forward, Dayla especially with that railgun, right? He's coming like right under bridge with the rail. I feel like if you watch players, you know, in more modern times, like from the Quake Live era, say, they're going to be standing back at banana, right, where that platform curves around above shards, and they're going to take rails from there because you can drop away really easily, you can peek around the corner really easily, you've got a lot more cover. Dayla seems to be taking some railgun fights where he's just stuck out in the open, and it, you know, maybe trying to close the distance and swap to like rockets and LG in some cases, but well, it's the kind of situation where if you're not hitting your shots, there's nowhere to go. And one of the things I love to look for in Quake games lately is how do players stay alive, how do they be annoying and get in their opponent's faces, as Dayla is able to force a very awkward fight with the plasma gun there, putting some good pressure on the exit of the red. LeXeR really wanting the plasma gun damage and really hoping to open up the bottom of the map with it, I think, so that he could cycle around and get, you know, a lightning gun. And interesting move there. Good way to take a rocket or a rail, but, well, he gets past, and now he's on position for this red armor again. If Dayla wants to push through the doorway, Dayla's going to pay for it. Dayla, very wise to not play into LeXeR's hand there, comes down low, and LeXeR's just going to back off, right? 5 minutes on the clock, 7 frag lead. This is a great time to just kind of chill out. You don't want to give anything away for free, and oh boy, does he not give anything away for free. Actually converts that into a frag. Interestingly, Dayla gets the spawn conversion. Everything is a mess right now. This red armor could be hotly contested. LeXeR's confident he's going to steal it away. Where is Dayla? Here he comes with the rocket. Ugh. And this is the kind of situation, you can tell Dayla's timing is nowhere near the level of LeXeR's here, right? Because he's dropping down with rockets after the item's taken. Now in this case it's worked out well for him, but I think part of that is LeXeR committing so hard to the fight. If LeXeR had just tried to nope out of there, that could have been really awkward for Dayla. He potentially takes a lot of damage dropping down. You know, again, it's the kind of situation, it's not safe play. It's not the kind of play I would expect to see in the year 2020. So, I mean, we can see Dayla's actually making this pretty competitive now, right? Like, LexA has felt so commanding and so in control, but in a couple of these fights, Dayla just knows how to force the issue in a really awkward way, and LexA has been struggling to get himself a railgun, right? He's prioritizing items around the map. That is a beautiful read. Oh, I love that read so much, and again, just relying on that little tickle of damage, knowing that you can put that pressure down and potentially get that frag. Dayla loves rushing onto this red armor, and there is a beautiful move, okay? That's great understanding of the map, great understanding of the geometry. That's the kind of move that I want to see in every game of Quake, right? You're at a disadvantage, you have to pull something back against an opponent who's got a lead against a rapidly closing window, so you just crouch on a staircase and know how to take advantage of a situation. Like, you're at such a stack deficit, but you nullify it by doing something creative. That's Quake. And this is good pressure, surely another frag here. Dayla brings us down to a 6 frag game if LeXa isn't careful, and I love how he just kind of carefully peeks over the edge there. He hears Dayla down below him and he says, no, this isn't for me. Dayla should absolutely find some way to pressure, if not the pickup, the exit of this item, and he is there. I love when players just kind of stand near that position, hope their opponents jump down and get, you know, a big LG pin or a big rocket or something on the exit. Makes me very, very happy. So Dayla with full control now. LeXa, again, like, he can probably just try and play this slow. Try and run out the clock. Dayla comes in, beautiful prediction rocket from LeXa. Dayla rocket jumping into position. This is such an aggressive move, steals away the yellow armor mid-fight. I kind of wish I could swap over and see how much stack was on his point of view there. But sadly I have no Dayla demos for this event. I love how calm LeXa is off the spawn though. So many times he just knows he can wait for the red. Again, the map awareness is phenomenal, and this is a massive jump forward as far as I'm concerned from the 2001 Grand Final, but watching games in 2001 in general. LeXa, he stands still, he uses sound cues, but he doesn't expect the jump. Dayla catches him off with a massive rocket. LeXa's going to come in for the pressure on the exit. He can hit so much LG there, and that suddenly makes this really, really hard for Dayla. So Dayla, he's gotten a few nice frags in here, and when he's been in control, he's done some nice things, he's put some good pressure down, but it always feels like LeXa's been a step ahead. He's known how to, you know, spam a nice rocket down. He's known what the time of these items are, and to be able to so calmly pressure in a sensible way, if not steal items away. And it feels like a couple of times Dayla's had situations where he's had an item and he's moved to a more aggressive position. He's thinking more about damage, and it's, you know, lost him the opportunity to cycle both Mega and Heavy, Mega and Red. Mega and Red. This is Quake 3, it's a red armor. None of this Quake Champions heavy armor crap. Or tricky dancing here from LeXa as he slips away down low. He thinks about the red armor, but thinks again. Again, right now he's won the game. If he goes for the red armor there, he's playing to lose the game. He's just got to hold on for a minute and a half and he will be crowned QuakeCon champion. And also, you've got to think, you know, $10,000 in the year 2002, you know, it's a lot of money today, right? In the year 2002, it was more money. LeXa tries to close in with the shotgun. And Dayla, actually, suddenly, this looks a lot more competitive. He's got the spawn. You know, we've seen some pretty horrible spawns for LeXa here as Dayla chases this down. Gonna be bringing this down to a 4-frag window, and, you know, look how vulnerable LeXa is off of this spawn. Just this shotgun to his name. Red armor's gonna do a lot, but with no guns, he's not gonna be able to defend himself. Can Dayla deny the OG? Dayla's there collecting Mega. Oh, if he hits that rail, that opens the game up in such a major way, but it looks like LeXa is going to be able to run the clock down with this. And yeah, almost certainly now, you know, like what can Dayla do? He had to hit that rail, he had to just go full aggro. Where is Dayla? Surely he can hear LeXa. Surely he's sitting around the middle of the map looking for a sound cue right now, right? That's what you've got to do. You've got to know when to go balls to the wall. And yeah, like LeXa calls it, he knows. He knows it's going to be basically mathematically impossible. He can delay 25 seconds on the clock. And so they call it. But yeah, no, like I was just kind of starting to say, like, you know, you imagine the money back then, but then you imagine the exchange rate into Russia, into rubles, right? That money goes a lot further in Russia than it does in America. That extra $10,000 for first place goes a hell of a lot further for LeXa. So a lot to play for. And there we go, LeXa becomes the QuakeCon champion, the man to dethrone 04. Fantastic game. Actually a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be off of the first few minutes. You know, it looked like it was just going to be LeXa domination, the control was going to be too much, but a few awkward fights, and that opened the door for Dayla in such a massive way. So, you know, really solid by Dayla, he kept his head, he stuck to his guns, and those guns tended to be a little bit more aggressive than I need to be, but, you know, maybe that was just his thing. I would love to hear from some people, you know, like what was Dayla about? It seems like he liked to use his aim, and especially rockets and LG maybe more than rail. LeXa taking some really intelligent rail trades and just intelligent plays all around. I cannot say enough how well deserved that was. So, that's going to be all for this game. Until 2003, I'll see you guys later.